Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 3, episode 57. And we are still continuing the journey of the topic of creative financing. And today, what I really want to go into is a little subject that we called investor cards. And for some of you, you probably already know what that is. And for many of you, I basically just want to share with you that it's just a fancier way for trained investors to leverage credit cards as our tools for financing. Why is it so important to understand this? Is because honestly, like a lot of things, I think credit cards have been given a bad names that it does not deserve. And we, as educated investors, we love credit cards. We really, really do love credit cards. At the same time, it really comes back down to understanding asset versus liability, good debt versus bad debt. Because let's put it this way, why did credit cards get a really bad reputation over the last few decades? Simply because of the fact that, well, first of all, it's massively and widely publicized on TV, on mainstream media. People get into credit card debts, okay? Now, I don't know about you. I've lived over 4 decades of my life now. I have never ever seen a credit card jumped out of a wallet or a purse and swipe itself. So the point of that really is it has nothing to do with the credit cards itself. It has nothing to do with the tool itself. We see a credit card, an investor card, as a very magnificent tool. It's simply the people that are using the tools that lack financial education and lack the will to use it properly. It's no different than cars, for example, on a day-to-day basis. When we leverage vehicles for simple good use from point A to point B every single day, and we use it safely, we can get from point A, point B, and back and forth safely, no problem. It's when people are reckless with the tools at hand. So that's really one of the first things that I want to share with everybody is the fact that I remember only having 3 credit cards, and even having 3 credit cards before I was financially educated felt like a lot already, because I was always just taught to have one, and any chance that you get, you want to make sure that you always pay off your credit cards on a daily basis, which I will still stick to as long as you're using it for the day-to-day transactions. Because why? Day-to-day transactions, by definition, you're not buying assets. You are buying consumables. These are liabilities and regular expenses, which means you're really not supposed to carry a balance, because when you carry a balance, that means you're spending more than what you are making, which I do not support whatsoever. However, I also personally love credit cards because of all the different loyalty incentive programs. I mean, a lot of people that know me these days personally, they understand that I love points. I love collecting points, and I love leveraging my points to get free upgrades, to get free travels, to get free things. And, you know, I joke that, because some people say, well, you don't need to do that anymore. And I go, on some level, you're not wrong. At the same time, though, this has just been so ingrained in me now over the last 2 decades or more, because once upon a time, I was also a broke student that wanted to get things for nothing. And so I started to learn how these point systems work and how to maximize the benefits from them. And so this is why I continue to use my credit card on a daily basis for my day-to-day transactions. And because I want to make sure that there are benefits that come with it. However, as soon as I got financially educated, I really understood the true power of what having multiple credit cards can do. Because I remember one of the courses that I went to, and incidentally, that course, they named it Creative Financing, was my instructor saying, well, let me share this with you. And it was a case study, an example of one of his personal deals of how he was able to acquire a strip mall with credit cards. And I'm going to shorthand this for you quickly, because again, it wasn't the fact that he took out millions of dollars to actually buy the strip malls with his credit card limits. It was the fact that he was able to leverage his credit card limits to tie the property down, to pay the deposit and a little bit of the down payment, where it bought him time to actually put the entire deal through, because he already knew how to analyze the deal really well, and he knew exactly when he was able to increase the performance, do a refi, basically going through the BRRRR process within the credit card payback period, and also the other funds, other sources funds that he was raising from his other people's money. And so this is why at every stage, and initially, I'm going to be completely honest, I was very, very challenged, because I was, once again, always taught that all you need is one credit card, pay it down, and don't raise your credit card limit. Okay. And I realized that it was just the worst advice that I could have ever gotten. And again, who was offering all this advice? Is the TV shows, is my parents. Again, no disrespect there. Remember, if you want to be something different, you got to do something different, and you got to start to educate yourself differently and think differently. Okay. And so the whole idea behind this is that you want to learn how to use your tools properly. And the way educated investor sees it is credit cards is just another way to access credit. And if you remember, I've said this a few times throughout the season and in the previous seasons as well, is that investors, we understand when it comes to credit, okay, or when it comes to access to credit, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I'm going to say that one more time because it is so, so, so important. Anytime you feel resistant or a little bit of fear when you're applying for more credit because you're wondering if it's going to hurt your credit score. Remember, I did a 5-episode series in season 2. Make sure you go back and watch that, of what impacts your credit score, okay? Anytime you feel the fear or the resistance, just remember this. When it comes to credit, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. These days, rising interest rates, even though the values starting to come down, for a lot of people, especially amateurs, they're simply not able to justify any purchases anymore. And that's why the economy is slowing down. And if you're like me, a Canadian, you will notice that really, if you are an economist or you've learned any sort of economics 101 back in your post-secondary education, macroeconomic or microeconomics, you're seeing the trend of what the government is doing. They are aiming to artificially induce a recession. How big, how small, we don't know yet, because by definition, when the interest rate is going up, it's the government's way of incentivizing the general population to save up rather than spend. When people start to hold money, it will cause the overall economic movement to slow down. And this is why to get out of a recession typically is to encourage spending without quantitative easing. Okay, I'm hoping I'm saying that right this time. I don't know why I said it wrong before. Anyways, coming back to what I wanted to focus on with everybody today during this episode is the fact that we need to understand that credit cards are amazing tools for educated investors. And that's why we call them investor cards. And now I want to make a quick suggestion, okay? Separate your investor cards versus your day-to-day credit cards. In my wallet, I still keep 3 cards for day-to-day expenses: Visa, Master, and an American Express. Actually, I have 2 American Expresses right now for different point earning purposes. However, for most of us, credit cards, investor cards, they can actually go beyond your typical Visa, Master, as well as American Express. I know in the US, you guys also have Discovers. In other countries, you also have different ways of getting credits and different credit card brands. So those are all lumped into the same category, okay? Just that as Canadians, we really only have access to the 3 major card categories right now. And also, I want to really, really remind everybody that co-branded retail cards, those are typically not the cards that we would count towards this category. So what are they? They are typically department store cards. So in Canada, for example, you have Walmart branded credit cards. You also have Canadian Tire branded credit cards, or I think they call it triangle cards or something. Those cards are great. However, it is not what we typically leverage for this purpose. However, you can use it for different strategies, which I will share with you later on. Okay, so the idea behind getting access to more credits and leveraging credit cards is simply because the fact that they are really, really easy to get. Most card application process, you basically log on to their websites and you punch in your information. 9 out of 10 times it's not combed through with a fine-tooth comb. And that's what we mean by no loan process. Okay, it means that they 9 out of 10 times will take what you say on face value. Of course, in most cases, especially North Americans and most developed countries, if you have a credit score regulatory body, okay, like for us, we have TransUnion, we have Equifax. Typically speaking, they will ask for that. And this is why 9 out of 10 times, they already know your credit scenario and they will approve or deny your application as a result. And because of that, virtually limitless offers. Okay, what that means is there's still, even though as Canadians, we don't have as many options as our friends in the south of us. So our American friends, if you're watching this, you have no idea how jealous all the Canadian investors are and have been, including me, is the fact that you have way more access to credit products than us. And so there are so many different opportunities that you can jump on. And so virtually limitless offers, because even the same card companies will come up with different offers at times. Okay, and we'll talk about what offers mean in a little bit. And unsecured borrowing. And that's what we mean by speed, speed, speed. Typical applications process for any sort of personal loan, home equity line of credit, or a mortgage, okay, for real estate investors, they take a while. Whereas when you have quick access to capital like this makes it a lot easier in any sort of purchase process, okay? And it also helps you build up your credit fast. Once again, I'm going to share the link to the 5 episodes that I made back in season 2 so that you can review what impacts your credit history and your credit score. And so theoretically speaking, the more cards you have or the more credit lines or credit accounts that you have, and when you are able to show the ability to manage them well, it actually helps you with increasing your credit score and have an overall better credit profile to potential and future lenders altogether. And so want to offer a little bit more understanding, because I know most of us, when we're applying for credit cards, we actually don't look at the fine print. And so the biggest thing here that I want to share with you, and obviously feel free to take a screenshot of this. If you're in the Treasure Talent community already, some of this you are learning as part of the creative financing curriculum and also real estate investing fundamentals curriculum. The point behind all of this, though, is that, as I mentioned earlier, you want to keep your investor cards, once you've got them, separate from your day-to-day cards, because what happens typically is that your day-to-day cards, those are the ones that you want to pay down at the end of every billing cycle, okay? And your investor cards, depending on the offers that you decide to take on, and clearly this depends on the deals that you decide to leverage these investor card balances or credits for, you can actually structure your own payment plan. And so that's another thing when I learned about this, is the fact that you can decide how you debt service your investor cards. And again, side note, asterisk, most cards will have a minimum payment due no matter what. However, it is most of the times peanuts compared to most other types of loans that you take out. And as a result, you have a lot more flexibility in creating your own payment schedule, depending on the deal that you are leveraging the funds into. Okay, there's so much flexibility there. It's not even funny. However, the idea is you need to learn to separate them. Okay, now what we really want to focus on would be the special offers. And so many of us, we've probably gotten letters or these days emails or even notifications if you got your bank app saying, hey, you got a special balance transfer offer. And those, what do they look like? Actually, I think I just got something not too long ago. So this will help me show this. Okay, so this is what it typically looks like. Okay, so this is one of, actually, hang on a second. I think I'm realizing that this entire time I actually have not shared. And that's why you probably didn't know what I was looking at. Okay, here we go. There we go. Why investor cards? Why credit cards? All of these reasons that I just went through. Feel free to take a screenshot if you like to. And this is the last little bit that I was explaining with everybody. And this basically is what they a lot of the times look like. Okay, again, you probably got them in letters like this. You probably got them as an email. You probably got them as a notification on your banking app. And it'll say, in this case, 0% interest on balance transfer until March 4th, 2024. A transfer fee of 2% applies. Let's break that down for a little bit quickly, okay? 0% interest, okay? I want you to just wrap your head around that. Think about inflation rate. Think about prime lending rate in whatever country jurisdiction that you live in. Where do you go for 0% money these days? That's free money, literally free money. Of course, there's a transaction fee of 2%. So let's say if you're borrowing $200,000 in unsecured credit, 2% is what, $4,000. But then that really means that your entire cost of borrowing is literally 2% for the year if you got a 12 months period. In this particular case, because we're in July already, and this says that you have until March 4th to utilize this. And then in there, they will tell you exactly how much longer you can use that balance transfer for. However, I'm just going to say March 4th is the deadline, meaning that's the time, that's the day that you actually have to pay everything down. We're at the end of July now. So assuming that you take out the money today, so we're going to count August, September, October, November, December, January, February, 7 months, and you pay 2% on that money. That still means that your overall cost of borrowing is less than 4% for the year, okay? And in today's world, that is cheap. And once again, literally free money if you're taking inflation into consideration. It's cheaper for you to borrow money than to put money aside. Okay. And so the idea behind this, obviously, I'm not encouraging you to take that money out and go shoe shopping or dress shopping or car shopping per se. Basically, only borrow money when you know you can make money. And this is how a lot of the real estate investors actually leverage these balance transfer offers. And so in the next episode, I want to share a few ideas and also show you an example. And that's, of a typical deal that I usually would leverage a balance transfer for. And so on that note, I really, really hope that for those of you who are still digesting the concept of leveraging investor cards, go back and watch what actually impacts your credit score. And again, I'm going to put that in the comment section. And last but not least, I'm going to invite you to the last webinar this month, which is happening this Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, and 8 a.m. Pacific Time. And the topic is how to maximize your deal profit by working with your general contractors. Okay, so AKA how to maximize your profit during a renovation, because a lot of the times it is really, really not what you see on TV. And so as investors, we always want to make sure that we run our numbers properly, and running numbers is one thing. Dealing and working with your general contractors who are actually carrying out the project on your behalf, regardless how much involvement you have in that process, is vitally, vitally crucial. So I'm also going to put that registration link in the comment section below. Make sure you come and join us. It's going to be a really fun 90-minute conversation with my special guest. So see you there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Live well, everybody.